This log is for June 2nd, 2013. I'd like to start off by taking a look at the monthly chart on the S&P 500. As you can see, this month actually closed a little bit weak. Volume was decent, but wasn't extremely high. Is showing some sign of selling starting to show up here. Of course, I believe these are all-time highs on this particular chart. So I believe that it still looks bullish. It could change pretty quickly if we close down below this level of 1592 and a quarter. That would be look more like an up thrust at that point in time. However, to me, I don't think it is. I still think it's fairly bullish, especially if we can close above this level this next month, and if we get a narrow range, could be a good sign for continuation to the upside. Wanted to show that just for an overall bullish feeling on the market that I have. So that's why I'm a little leery of the sell-off still. Though Friday was very weak, this could give us a larger pullback, maybe to 1594 level would be the next major level. I'm really going to pay close attention to how we behave around this 1630 level. If we can move above it with some nice demand coming back in, then I think it's possible this is just an ABC correction for a higher move. If you're into Elliott wave, I think this would be a fourth wave correction of some type. They generally tend to be ABC patterns, which means we have one more fifth wave to move up. This looks more like a third wave impulse pattern. Doesn't look like a fifth wave to me. That's why I'm still kind of leaning more towards the bullish side. I am in some stocks still, and I tend to hold on to them a little longer and wait and see what happens. I've ditched a lot of the weaker ones. Some of the stronger ones haven't really pulled back much, so I still have a good buffer on them if the market really starts to turn down. But that's my overall feeling. So tomorrow I'm going to keep a close eye on Friday's lows. If we reject them, move higher, I might look for a trade to go long up into this level around the 1657 level would be probably the max move I would expect for tomorrow. Again, here I'm looking at the 27,000 tick chart. We're close to oversold in this area. Good chance we can reject this level and move higher. However, the one thing it does have me on maybe thinking it possible it could go down is lots of supply came in at the close yesterday, and we're gonna have to see if those sellers show back up tomorrow. If we bump around here in the morning and we just can't get above this level, I'll definitely be looking to go short and looking for a move to the downside. Even if we trade above it and start bouncing around this level, especially if we can't get above this 1640 level and some signs of weakness start showing up, I'll look to short again. We have a lot of overhead supply to get through before we can really continue the uptrend. So long trades probably won't be held for very long. Short trades, if there's lots of ease of movement, I tend to hold on to those a little bit longer. So overall, I am bearish at the moment. I still think we can go down, but long term, I'm still fairly bullish based on the monthly chart. Daily chart could just be an ABC correction. Those are things that are in the back of my mind. So just going to be playing around these levels, looking for trade opportunities. Friday, I did not catch much of that down move. I did get a short eventually. Kind of caught me off guard, the down move in the morning. I saw, I didn't take this trade, but I did get in long here. Got stopped out for a loss on that trade. And at that moment, once the supply came out in, I was definitely not thinking of going long after that moment. We violated the trend channel, big down wave, lots of supply. Probably should have been looking to go short in here. Fridays I tend not to be very aggressive, especially around lunchtime, so I didn't really consider going short. So when I saw this down move out, I was definitely caught off guard. Didn't short here because we're sitting on top of support, but when we broke through again, I did take a short in this area. Only caught a few points in here before it continued down. Went about 10 points from my entry. Would have been a good trade. But anyways, Fridays, I don't tend to trade very well on Fridays. I tend to be tentative. I'm usually not focused or watching the market as closely, but there's a good reason to go short here. Kind of wishing I was paying a little closer attention at the time. I was also a little more distracted with the trade I took in wheat. I've been talking about wheat being bullish on wheat and looking for another opportunity to go long. Um, Again, I'll point out the reasons why. On the weekly chart, you can see some signs of strength have been starting to show up here in the market. We have shortening of the thrust. This down wave is bigger than this down wave, and this down wave is shorter than this down wave. So you can see it's shortening up, landing right on top of support level and an area where we had lots of buying coming in, pushing price up. You see lots of ease of movement on this move up and very choppy movement down. No matter how you slice it or draw a trend channel, we've violated it. We're building a base down here, a cause I believe to go higher. Watching the weekly chart, when we got a spring on the daily chart about a week ago, I'll pull up that weekly chart the daily chart for you. Oops, that's not it. Yeah, I'll just turn this into a daily chart. I started paying closer attention on the tick charts to look for trading opportunities. Caught this trade last week, caught a good move up in that, got about 10 points on it. We came down, and I believe we've tested this spring fairly well, and we held up well. Had some no supply coming in on this down move, moved up, came down, tested it again for a second time, and closed higher. And it was it wasn't quite an inside day, but you can see ranges were kind of starting to narrow up there. So was paying close attention, mostly to my 1500 chart. When I got an alert that I was setting up a 310 oscillator buy, I started keeping a closer eye on it. If I was paying attention, I definitely would have taken a spring trade here, given the strength in the background on the daily chart. Missed it. Did get a 310 oscillator set up here. I really liked this particular one because you can see we had ease of movement up, and I like to compare, an up move to the current down move, or current up move to the previous down move, to kind of get an idea of what supply and demand looks like. And this was lots of ease of movement, pushing up, strong demand on the Weiss wave. Once we started bouncing around, got a lot of clustering of the closes, the bars were overlapping. I started looking for an opportunity to go long here. I was going to look for a divergent bar, and I actually looked at the 500 tick chart and got long on this little spring. It was a very small amount of risk. Decided to take a dive in. Got a couple contracts there. Considered adding on another contract here, but ended up not doing so. I thought I was a healthy position to take in over the long weekend, or over the weekend. So we're overbought, but we are not really showing much sign of weakness. In fact, we keep breaking through resistance. What I liked about this add-on point is we broke above this high and we're holding above it, got some more clustering of the closes. Good sign that we can move higher. So my plan on this trade, I'm gonna watch it tomorrow. If we up thrust this high, I may cut it loose and look for another opportunity to get in. However, if we can really move above this, if we really start accelerating to the upside, I'd like to hold on to it a little bit longer. First area of resistance would definitely be here around the 27 and 736 level on the daily chart. I don't know if I'd hold the full position. I may take half of it if I see some signs of weakness on my tick chart, and maybe hold the other half and turn it into a swing trade. We'll wait and see how the market behaves, but I really want to see it lift off. We definitely are in a trading range, so we need to break out of this trading range on the daily chart before I really start getting conviction for the long side. If we can bust through this, jump across the creek, that'd be a really good sign. Then I'd look for another pullback. If I'm in the position currently, I may add on to it. So that's wheat. I'm also watching the US dollar. I'm starting to get bearish on the dollar, and kind of digging up some other techniques I used to look at, and starting to watch them more for larger moves, looking for bigger moves. I noticed been getting a lot of signals using the commitment to trader report and consensus, which both are really good indicators to use for more fundamental information on the market. Generally, consensus is great. You want to go against consensus unless you're in a really bull trend market. But in a situation like, here's an example, we sell off right into an area of support, and more than 85% of newsletters are bearish on the dollar at that point. And the commercials, which tend to be the insiders or more people who are hedging, or they tend to have a better overview of the market, a little bit more savvy as traders. You tend to want to be on their side. And when this equipment trader report oscillator was above here, telling me that they were had more of a long position now than they did the previous 6 months. So that's a pretty bullish sign. And as you can tell, when both of those are going in the same direction, you do get a rally that goes up for you probably get a good 3-week rally out of it. If you look for an entry on the daily, you probably would have got a pretty good spot to go long. And it happens fairly regularly. You see a lot of good setups using this. And I also look at open interest as another good indication. Anyways, what I'm looking at now is sentiment was very bullish. About 82% of newsletters were bullish on the dollar. As you can tell, the commercials have been selling into this rally. And open interest is made an all-time high here on this chart. It's probably been the highest it's been in over a year. And generally, when open interest is that strong, that means a lot of the large speculators are going long. And a lot of times they end up to be wrong and on the wrong side of the market. And as you can see, we're up thrusting this high here. We came into this area where we saw ease of movement down. As you can tell, this is a very choppy move up in comparison to this down movement. Took about 7 weeks to go down, and it took probably about 15 or 20 weeks to go back up to this area. So I am bearish on the dollar and going to be looking for a potential trade on that. Had some good reasons based technically and also fundamentally for it. And if you look at the daily chart here, let's pull up the daily. We broke out of this trading range. Yesterday was fairly negative, or Friday was negative, tried to move back above it. A little bit of testing of ice in that level. Also breaking below this area of resistance. It's just showing some weakness to me. And I didn't notice it till this weekend, but I might have considered a short up in this area. Definitely area consolidation, breaking out of it, coming up, testing ice. Actually, my tick chart was a little clearer. I don't get a lot of historical data on eSignal, and I don't watch the dollar every day, so it doesn't go very far back on my larger tick chart time frame. But here you can see you might have been able to get short here on this little up thrust here. I had a reverse trend line we hit in an area of congestion, not underneath ice, but trying to peak above it. Some supply came in at the end of the day. I might look for a chance to go short. Maybe I'll have to look at a faster time frame. Maybe look at a 250 tick chart to go short. So keeping an eye on that. S&P volatility I think is picking up here. So I'm going to keep a close eye on the S&Ps obviously too for potential short, maybe long if we can hold above that level that we broke through at the close on Friday. Anyways, I hope you guys have a good day of trading.